So I'm coming off the back of two meaningful community gatherings, one being the Not Your Average Investor Summit. That's our 5th year doing that. The other being the Key Renter Summit. And there's a couple thoughts that I would love to just kind of like go through on it. A lot of this is going to be about doors owned over doors managed and that idea as a flywheel, but I'm probably going to hit on a couple of other things from the events. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Property Management Frame Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go.
Doors owned over doors managed. I don't know, like I've said that now a bunch of times, and I think it's a good way to summarize like a movement that I would love to see in the property management industry for the good of the property management industry. And as you can imagine, what I mean by that is really focus every property manager to devote a real portion of their brain and strategy to aggressively acquiring buy and hold rental properties that they manage for a bunch of different reasons, particularly right now, based on the tax incentives that are there. It is such a no-brainer. So I'm at the Q Renter Summit, and the end of it, one of the last events is a real estate investor panel. They also, coming up to that, right? Like Blanket sponsored it. RentScale, Blanket was like the title sponsor. We sponsored also, obviously. RentScale was also there, and they have this thing, right? Like Blanket, who talks about asset management a lot, and RentScale has developed a program of how to sell asset management. And so they led this workshop to make you like understand like a real estate investor would, essentially. And then one of the last events was a roundtable of real estate investors talking about why you want to invest in real estate as a property manager. And that's the third kind of like, and then they announced that they want to start like a investor mastermind of key renter franchisees. That's the third kind of like signal of a watering hole that's looking to come up of real estate investing for property managers. The first one was Paul and Wolf's event that I went to in Nevada, right? We had about 17 people around the room, talked about the benefits of real estate investing, broke down some deals, talked about tax strategies. I know that my friend Tracy Strike in Oklahoma he's very bullishly using the dynamics of his Oklahoma market, which right now is a good cash flow market and has good upside market and is affordable. So it's a really great place to invest in right now. He wants to teach property managers how to invest also. He's got a big portfolio himself. And, he's like, when we're talking about it, he's like, man, the bonus depreciation, right? Like it's such a no-brainer. You can pick up essentially properties at like 25 to 30K off the top, right? Like that's your discount because of this thing that's happening right now. It's called bonus depreciation. And two things are in play here. One is that as a property manager, you are a real estate professional. So when it comes to passive income off of real estate, you can deduct any kind of losses from your active income as a tax break. And I'm not advocating to get into real estate to lose money, but there is something called depreciation in real estate, right? When you buy the rental property, you can depreciate the value of the building itself, not the land, but the building itself. Over 30 years, you amortize that. Right now, there's a tax loophole. Not a loophole. Right now, the tax code says that you can take bonus depreciation on that, and you can basically depreciate the whole asset. So the year that you buy, you can depreciate the cost of the real estate that you're buying as a loss on your taxes, greatly decreasing your income, your declared income as a property manager. And therefore, it could knock you down a tax bracket, which is a lot of money, right? Like a lot of money to save on taxes. That can equate to like 25, 30K off of your taxes, like off of your cash that you would pay to taxes. So it's essentially a 25, 30K gain. That's just the bonus depreciation piece. That's why right now the urgency around understanding how to do it before this tax code changes is a big deal for property managers, right? Because they are a real estate professional, which means they can take depreciation against their active income, and B, there's a super attractive depreciation kind of like moment right now. That's really good for them. Beyond that, I've talked to Tracy, and as far as like the benefits of being a peer to your clients, right? Like it's like, yes, I'm a real estate investor. I'm acquiring portfolios here and I've learned to manage them on my own and I want to manage you like I would manage yours is a really powerful conversation to have. Everybody that does it says it's their pitch and it works. And then on top of that, the other thing is I just, the Not Your Average Investor Summit for JWB, we just had our 5th annual summit. It was amazing. It's literally the greatest thing ever. It's the community that I've built. It's the most proud accomplishment that I've ever had. Like, I don't have kids. It's my greatest creation. And it's like a room full of people that are best friends, that are all investors, all super fans of JWB and their operation. So we put this thing on for investors. This guy, Ryan Lee, Wealth Without Wall Street is his thing if you want to look him up. He showed up and taught everybody about, this is what I think is infinite banking, but showed up everybody and taught everybody about kind of like how to leverage a life insurance policy. I think it's a whole life insurance policy to just like rapidly be able to recycle money over and over and have it compound much quicker in real estate investing that affects cash flow in a big, big way. Like showed this like exercise of like putting 150K in right now and this like insane outcome. The one that I found really interesting was like, if you have $1.5 million in equity, if you set this thing up the right way, if you have $1.5 million in equity, you can start to pull, like, it was something like 100K salary off of that, right? But in 3 years, it would like recycle again. It'd be like 145K. And then in 3 years that, right? So like for me, very attractive. It's like, I bought 3 rental properties in like 2021 and 2022. And right now, them in 15 years will have $1.5 million in equity. So like to think that at like 60, I could be doing that if I do this strategy is super, super attractive, right? So like, and that guy, Ryan Lee, it's a really great like strategy for all real estate investors. And the guy Ryan Lee in his presentation talks about how everybody should love property managers because property managers are the ones that make it available, right? So like think about partnering with a guy like Ryan Lee to have a local event, and he would do it, right? Like he would travel and give that presentation, to your clientele base. So like think about these like leverage strategies of like being in that world and really, really being in that world as an investor is really cool. But at the end of the day, it's just like, I've seen this at JWB, right? It is the center of their flywheel. Your ability to make a single family home perform like an annuity is a skill set that allows you to build upon many other things, right? Like if you start getting good at that, like adding to your portfolio, right? You can then it can lead to the turnkey model. Like you can then be like looking for investors, right? Everybody needs an operator. And if they see you as an investor, people want operators. It's just a very different conversation and a very different upside than like, if you don't do this, just staying in the property management lane, like what's your exit plan? Is it like a valuation? Like you really, if you don't, like you could very, very literally over the next 5 years acquire 5 properties. If the tax code stays the same, like you can acquire 10 properties in the next 10 years and just think about that, right? Like if 3 properties for me in 20 years are going to be worth $1.5 million, I'm obviously trying to acquire more, but like just do that math. If you get to 5, if you get to 6 or 10, you're going to have that ability to recycle that money like that and that cash flow. That's a great retirement altogether, whether you liquidate or not, right? So I just think it's a really certain way to achieve financial freedom, achieve a retirement goal, do these kinds of things that most of America could really do well to have. But as property managers, you have kind of like the cheat code into it, which is the operational prowess that can enable all these other things to make capital easier. To like the tax stuff is big. The how it helps your business and how you're able to sell is a really, really big thing. And it's clearly something a lot of people are talking about, right? I definitely learned that at Key Renter Summit. Definitely learned that, like with Tracy, with Paul, with Wolf, all that type of stuff. So, this isn't exactly an AI podcast that I just did, but in the world of like how everything is changing, owning a hard asset like a single family home rental property is about as close to feeling confident about your financial future as anybody gets right now.